So, hello everyone, my name is Jessica. You may know me when I have stood here in this EduCap stage at the TTS Cup 2021. And today I want to introduce you guys about something that we, not only me, but all the guys here have worked really hard on is this book, so you know. Okay, so let's start by a question that I asked the same way I asked 4 years ago on the stage. Have you ever been scolded by your parents or think that they never understand you? If yes, please raise your hand. Thank you. So that simple question led me to my topic, which is generation gap and its effect on children's mental health. So in my part, I talk about how generation gap, how it formed in family, school, and workplace, and how it has heavily affected teenagers' mental health and mentality in general. But let's stop here a little bit. If you guys know, all of these guys here, they talk about science. They talk about big stuff, the universe, the black hole, the white hole. But why did I choose to talk about what? Mental health? Family? Teenagers? It seems a little indifferent, cliche, and maybe boring, right? And a lot of other people actually told me the same too. They say that, okay, this is the last round already. And 4 years ago, this is the last round already. I should do something that is big, that is enormous, to actually show my English, showcase my fluency. But I think that now I have the answer, the well-prepared answer for Ms. Nhã's question, is that the biggest lesson I learned is to keep my own style. I have learned to actually filter all of the feedbacks and choose to keep my own style, to choose a topic that fit myself the most, which is the most humane topic, the most down-to-earth topic, realistic topic, and emotional, so that I choose to talk about a problem that is everywhere in the world and every family. So again, after or during the process of building my content, I realized that generation gap is not something like a random abstract idea that I see online, but it is something that is everywhere in every family. As I ask the question, a lot of the guys here has raised their hand. They think that sometimes their parents don't understand them at all. And needless to say, not them, not the guy here, but I'm here. I was and maybe still a victim of generational gap. So from all of that emotion, from all that experience, I have learned to put it into my presentation and trying to deliver best my emotions, my girly kind of thing that people say was bad. They say being emotional is bad. You should be scientific. You should be analytical. But I don't want to change me. This is the last round. I want to be me. And I think that is the best thing that I've learned and I'm proud of myself for. And again, finally, and again, but 4 years later, after, yes, I'm being proud of myself for did really good in 2021 in the presentation. And after Mr. Victor gave me the task to write a reflection on one of the most influential events of my life, one of the most biggest competition of my life, I think back, okay, is emotions actually enough? Is actually showing sadness, frustration, or even resentment, or anything I want, just what I want in the book, is it enough? And a lot of the teachers here and the guys here have taught me a very valuable lesson, is that emotion enough does not create a good guide. If I want to write a book, if I want to guide everyone, if I want to write a book for people that is like me, that wants to speak, writing a book for me, it requires a logical structure and a captivating storyline so that the people have their time well spent on my chapter. So that I think, yes, through this whole process, to be honest, I don't have the pride to actually look back at the video of my presentation. I think sometimes it's bad. Sometimes I look ugly or sometimes I look embarrassing. But I feel really, really thankful that TTS and all of the guys here had make me a chance to actually look back and learn from what I have done and learn from the whole thing in the 4-year span. So if I were to say short, if I'm were oversaying anything, in my chapter is a journey of me learn to keep my own color and learn to be a better version of myself since 4 years to now. Thank you for listening.
Cảm ơn Jessica. Thank you for your sharing.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hamiki, and I'm the co-author of this book, Analytical Reflection. So to state everything clearly, both five of us will be writing a chapter inside of the book. And each of us will have a different style of writing and different kinds of information that you can take in. And for me personally, I wrote about challenging yourself. Well, while reflecting on my past 4 years ago, you can see that the topic that I chose was way out of my league. I chose a topic about like scientific equations, mathematics, and especially in black holes, white holes. I was 6 at the time. Wait, no, I was in grade 6 at the time. And you expect a sixth grader to be talking about black holes and Einstein's relativity, general relativity. No, of course not. And of course, while I was in the process of making that presentation, I fumbled because I couldn't get my ideas across. I didn't understand anything, the equations and whatever I was talking about. I was just looking up online, looking into Wikipedias and articles on how the equations work. But then I figured out that it wasn't that difficult to actually make a presentation about a topic that you clearly do not understand. And that's why I wanted to contribute to this book, to say that you can tackle any problem that you want to. Even though you're extremely young, extremely out of this world, you can still do any topic that you like. And through my reflection, I saw that yes, I did make a lot of mistakes on the way that I presented my ideas. Like I did misinformation, I fumbled, and then I didn't actually get my ideas across. But through the years, after months of training, I just figured that you can only take in the most important and significant factor out of the topic. For my story, when tackling something difficult, I want to focus on the main part of the topic that I chose, the concept. What can I learn from it? Not the itty bitties and the explanation on everything, how everything works. And through this book and through my chapter, you can see that the process that I went through in order to find the solution, in order to find the significant factor of a topic that genuinely is the most important factor. And sometimes you just have to burst your bubble. You have to step out of your comfort zone and choose topics that are way out of your league so that you sound more professional. You dare to challenge yourself. And if you really want to become influential, and if you really want to be motivational and inspiring, you have to do that. You can't just stay everything into your way of speaking. You can't just keep talking and presenting about something that you already know. You have to step out of it. You have to work on something that nobody has done before. And through my book, you can see how I did it. Because I'm standing here. After 4 years of reflection, I've done it. I'm able to stand up here, do a book because I've never done it before. And once you buy this book and read it, you can see how I went through it. Well, it's not easy because it is just a reflection of mine. There's no step-by-step guide on how you can do it. But you have to do it on your own. You have to see your own style, your own way of speaking. And that's only when you can succeed. Thank you for listening.
Please give a big applause of Hamiki Boy.
Greetings, everybody. It is an honor to be here to introduce myself and this book called Analytical Reflection through Presentation, Debate, and Model United Nations. So, my name is Sam. You can call me by my Vietnamese name, Quang, which is easier. And back then, 4 years ago, I made a presentation about black holes. You know, black holes, it sounds simple because like most people, even in my age, they know what black holes are, right? Like it sucks things in, it does like a bunch of things, and then blah blah blah, and all that stuff. And back then, 4 years ago, 4 to 5 people was doing the same thing as me, and I honestly don't want to be like those little dust down here. I want to shine. I want to redeem myself because I was living in a environment where it was really hard for me to stick my head up and actually talk to people because of the insurmountable pressure that I get from being compared by this gifted weird kid from out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden I feel so inferior to him, to that guy, to that girl. I don't know when did my parents start comparing me so that they can feel my growth, because they think that, they expect that through comparing with those dust flying around and me being at the ground, they thought that I would also be able to fly and fly high and be able to do a ton of great things, to be able to achieve great achievements. So this was my only chance to redeem myself. So what did I write about? What was my presentation? Well, I think this book holds the answer to that. This book will hold the answer to what I wrote about, to what I did my presentation about, because I did not just do the same route as everybody. I didn't just follow the same path that people have carved. I carved my own path. I take a different detour. Instead of focusing and tackling the problem head on, I take a different path. I didn't just take a different path, but actually carved my own path, so that I could stand out, so that I could be unique, so I could be special. So that's how I actually win the special prize. I'm not here to glaze myself, but that's actually like how I feel when I'm reflecting myself. And so I was only 14 years old back then, and doing this topic about black holes was really difficult. And when I was being trained by teachers, they all give me like equations, mathematical equations, or scientific topics or related themes so that I could talk about. But I just don't want to go that same route, because there will be people who will be led by the same teacher. So how can I be different? The keyword here is different, because how to become special isn't just about like following the same path. It's not about taking a different path. Also, it's about carving your own path, carving the way that you want to walk on, not just following people's direction and expecting a good result. And so what I wrote in here is that I will analyze the way I think, the way I made this presentation, to make it so that it become the best one that, from my experience, should be the best one. Although there will be flaws and errors in my latest book, but I will be hopefully fixing that in the near future. However, this book is what I would describe as what once felt insurmountable wasn't a wall. It was just a mirror for me to reflect myself in this book. All I did was like write and reflect, write and reflect, write and reflect. I was doing in here was just as simple as that. But I can hopefully guarantee everyone here is that this book will definitely bring lots of benefits to everyone here when they buy and read the book, because that not only will you know my personal story and how I thrive to be a person that I should be, but you will also know how I design my presentation and how you should think in a way that would make you become a better person. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Greetings, honorable and distinguished audience. You might have known me through a personal introduction, my part in the book. I might be English major of Learn From High School for the Gifted, have some background in debating MUNs, but that doesn't really matter in my part, to be honest. My part, it's no story about being successful, not about, going from bottom to the top, not about, someone becoming famous overnight. My part is simply a reference, a guide that I provide to you through a story, a part of my life, where I will let you look into how I do things, and therefore you will see for yourself how do you open up yourself to a newer perspective, how you elevate your viewpoint to arguably a better one, how you see things that other people, normal people, would not see, and how to maybe, to some extent, bring forth the betterment of yourself. When reading my part, I would want you to read it not with the mindset you would expect reading a fact book, but rather read it with questions in mind, with doubts. Because, of course, there will be tiny mistake that I expect you to find I put in there. And there will be things where, of course, it doesn't sound reasonable at first. But then as you question it, you actually think about it, it becomes more and more vividly reasonable. So, let's come into it. I will give some spoilers for you, a part in my book, right? So my part, through a very summarized MUN flow. Of course, you guys know what MUN is, right? You have seen me present on stage the last time doing sharing on TTS MUN, and most of you would have known it. But MUN is not the main part. The main part is about how I researched through an MUN and what I found out myself about it. And I believe that you would have some thoughts about that as well. The main thing is analyzations and interpretation of information. Very big words. Very, very big words, you see. Oh, well, due to time constraint, I will go briefly over it. But I will give examples, see. So you know, the word is not that big. It's something that we do normally nowadays, but people often overlook. Now, this method of mine involves two main targets: you yourself and people around you. Let's take, for example, for the analyzation and interpreting information of yourself. We will be talking about a situation that has been going on in the Middle East, in a country that has an A and an E. I know some of you guys may think about it. No, it's not. It's the United Arab Emirates, not that one country, okay? We will be talking about human trafficking. Now, let me give you some information. And from these two pieces of information, I want to hear your perspective, what you think about it, okay? The United Arab Emirates have recently signed various funding and promise with the United Nations to tackle human trafficking regionally. However, they have been faced with various criticism from the Human Rights Watch regarding their flawed kafala system and the lack of enforcement. I'll read again and then I will ask you a question, okay? The United Arab Emirates have signed various funds and promise with the United Nations for tackling regional human trafficking. However, they have been faced with criticism from the Human Rights Watch regarding their very flawed kafala system and lack of enforcement. I'd like to invite someone to share their thoughts, just how you think about the issue. There's no wrong or incorrect answer. There's no right or incorrect. I see Max. Yes, can you please share your perspective, just how you think about what I said?
Well, I think maybe the reason why is they receive a lot of criticism about not having enough enforcement is maybe because they have a lot of other things to do, maybe like some other controversies. I think I'm not really deep research into this, so I can't provide anything. Maybe somebody next to me can.
I will invite him later. However, this does not require any deep thinking. However, but on the surface, right, it sounds like okay, UAE is helping the world become better. They're funding, signing promises, kind of thing that, but they're being criticized because they're doing not good enough. However, if you look closely, you analyze the information. How does a rich nation like the UAE have the money to fund the UN projects yet they cannot solve an issue of their own. Think about it. Isn't this weird? Like a big nation capable of assisting others, promising great things, yet cannot solve a problem of their own? Is something wrong? It is. But you may think that, okay, it's some random thing. However, this shows us a deeply critical aspect. The UE does not care about its problems. Surprisingly enough. See, in the information era, with these information in mind, you can see, oh, there's a lot of information on the internet, on your, Reels, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, kind of things. And of course, you might overlook this information. It looks very normal on a surface, but when you delve deep to it, when you actually, take a rethink about it, you don't need any research. Just alter the way you think. Instead of just looking at it in simple ways, connect it together. I will show that in my part. I will not do any more spoiler of it, but that is an aspect of how you think about it. Yes. On the second part, I would go deeper. I know it's been long, but now second question. How can we change the way people interpret information? I would like to draw attention to a word called ambiguous. Does anybody know the meaning of this word ambiguous? David.
Maybe the word ambiguous means like it have many meanings and could not easily perpetrate it.
And your answer exactly proves my point. Yes. Ambiguous is indeed one of its meaning is open to many interpretation, meaning having many viewpoints. However, it has another very interesting meaning, which means not having an obvious meaning. You get what I mean? It's not obvious. So when I use a word in a sentence, this matter is very ambiguous. I might mean, oh, this matter have a lot it's open to a lot of interception, or this matter is not very obvious meaning. So this is an issue called wording, and in my part I will show you how through wording you can change people's perspective on things, downplaying problems, even persuade people to your side in an MUN. And maybe you can practice that in real world. Right. So in my part, I'd say my purpose is not only I will convey you the nuance, very so-called academic nuance of the issues, but also I will want it to be a reference that you can consult to, a thing that you can look into it. And I will not, in my part, I will not tell you what to do, but rather, like I said, this is analytical reflections, and I want you to, after you read it, you question yourself, you reflect on yourself, not abide to what I've said, but rather think about yourself, and then you will realize what is your own way of doing things. In the age of information where misinformation and disinformation is rampant, it can only be up to you yourself to realize what is right and what's wrong. Maybe not in everyone's perspective, but in your perspective. And through my part, I hope that I can somewhat assist you in that process, sharpen your minds. Don't let a repeated lie in the modern world become the truth, if you know what I mean. It is up to us to be aware, be diligent, and be in control of our thoughts. Thank you.
Xin được cảm ơn Norman.
So I know everybody is very sleepy right now, so I'm just gonna be really quick and concise, okay? Actually, when I see before the presentation, everybody's like, I haven't prepared anything. I haven't prepared. Look at Sam. He was acting so energetic. I wish he did the same thing as the World Scholars Cup competition. he disappointed me in the whole final round. And look, not gonna lie, I'm gonna speak a little bit in formal language because I want y'all to understand that this book is not a personal statement from anybody from the authors, but it's more like we want you to walk with us to the information that we acquired throughout our studies. That's what we want. And as you can see, before I want to say about the book, I want to admit one thing. I have been scared of this stage for 3 years. Why? Because the first time was the TTS Cup 2021. That's when most of these speakers, they were the best of their form. They talk about black holes in ways that nobody can imagine. They talk about things that are visionary. You know what I talk about? Books. And I don't even read any of them. Somehow I still have the audacity to come up and talk about a book. And the second time, I presented with Sam. You know what we talk about? Education. I'm not the best student in my school. Where's the audacity to present about education? Right. So now, as you can see, each of these person has their own intensity, their passion, memories. All of their best form is already performed in here, except for me. So, I just want to say I will be the neutral one in this one because I want to be the person who will guide you through my knowledge, not to teach you. This book, in my opinion, it redefines critical thinking. But how would you redefine critical thinking though? Because I think most people, when they said critical thinking, they will think, oh, you must have deep knowledge. You must be like a philosopher. You gotta talk about things that are older than your age in order to have a clear comprehension about the world. No, I don't think that, son. I don't think it. For me, critical thinking, it's like a big idea. What do you mean a big idea? Your creativity is the big idea. You create an idea that is from your heart, from your brain, and from the experience that you are going through. That's what critical thinking is. And I think most educational purposes are wrong for this. Why? It's because they require a student to have such large comprehension, wide story, and vivid things. But the problem is they haven't hit the core value. It's that it allows students to have creativity and to have innovation in their own color. And that's why I would want people to see or readers to see in this kind of book. All right, moving on to the contents. So why did I choose Model United Nations? Model United Nations isn't actually a pretty popular competitive format. Actually, I was better at debate than Model United Nations. But remember what I said. I don't want to teach you. I want to guide you with me in order to learn something new. And Model United Nations did just that. I feel like I am pretty inexperienced when it comes to Model United Nations. I gotta admit. Because Model United Nations acquires information that every time your parents open on the TV and watch the news, right? Like you will hear about, oh, the world problem, the world issue, while you're there playing your games. You're like, this is boring, right? But those information somehow works on MUN, and that's what I'm lacking. So when I write the book, don't see it as a guy who's, all knowledge, omnipresent, like a god. No. I want you to look at it as a friend that shares you all of his stories, a friend that easily can confide with you when he is at his weakest, when he is vague. And I want you and that friend learn more. And from those lessons that you guys learn together, you got your own idea. And that's the true value of critical thinking. All right, I want to end this up pretty quick, I want to talk about my experience and the inspiration behind why am I writing this. Well, to be honest, actually I have visited 2 events of MUN. One is SMUN by the Social Community Fund. The second one is the current one, the TTS MUN. You can check it out on YouTube video on TTS Education YouTube channel. Okay, I'm advertising for them. And to be honest, I prefer the TTS MUN. Why? Because I'm getting paid? No. I'm writing this book and I'm not getting any salary. The problem is, SMUN represents a traditional format, a proper format, or I would like to say conventional. What does it mean by conventional? Conventional or orthodox actually means normal, right to the common, right to the majority, but it doesn't stand right to me. What makes TTS MUN so special is because it was different. Rather than all nations, it chose to include two organizations, which is the International Monetary Fund and the International Labor Market. And I was the IMF. And you know what I learned? I learned that sometimes in real life, power is not distributed equally. And sometimes there is dissociation from group power, shared power, or individual power. Individual power is what I have discovered, apart from the conventional group power. And what I've learned is the more power you have, the more responsibility you must get. Just like Peter Parker uncle used to say, with great power comes with great responsibility. Everybody knows that, right? And so I need to do more research, and it expands my view about the world. And that's where critical thinking hits in. Why? Because as to become the International Monetary Fund, I am a mediator, which means I have to control between investments and I also have to control money distribution. And I have to monetize my member nation and supervise them to make sure everything goes with the flow. So that's what critical thinking hits, because you need to have initiative. You need to make something new in order to satisfy everybody, but also you gotta satisfy your own goal. That's the problem. And from then on, I realized that my eyes are a little bit open. You know, my eyes used to be like this, but now I'm open up like this. So then, what I want you to acquire after this book is to from this to this. I want you to be like that. And I want you to read my part as a confession or a love letter to you, because I love my readers and I love my audiences. And now I'm just playing. Thank you so much for listening.
Norman, yeah, I have a question for you. First, what were the biggest challenges you faced when writing your chapter?
And it was, of course, time consuming. But I'd say the hardest of them all is adapting my mindset to a new type of writing, because previously I have only written academic research papers, written stories, but a reflection and a book is something brand new, something that I have never faced before, and finding the new path in such unmarked ground, it's probably the most of the challenges.
Okay, thank you so much. Jessica, through the process of contributing to this book, what is the most important lesson you learned?
Thank you for your question. So I think that for me only, the biggest lesson I've learned through all of the process is, for me, so personally, I'm a very girly girl. I'm gonna say I have a lot of emotions. I have a lot of things to write. And when I reminiscing back from the event which is TTS Cup 2021, I have a lot of emotion. I had a lot of things to say, things to say to other students and other people. But again, I think that the biggest lesson I learned is to balance between what I want to write and what I think people need to hear, people need to read. So I think that I learned to balance between my emotion, what I want to write, what I felt, and what I want to deliver within that, to create a captivating structure, a captivating storyline, so that the reader will have their time well spent on my chapter. And just like everyone here, not Norman, but this is the first time I'm writing a book, so it's really hard. But yeah, I kind of think that's my biggest lesson.
Okay, Hamiki boy, what advice would you give future TTS students who joins academic events like this?
Yes. Thank you for your question. So this ties in neatly with my part as well. If you haven't heard, then my part was about breaking through a wall that you are far beyond your league. Well, if you want to attend inside of these academic events, not only in writing books, but also in debating, MUNs, and presentations, then please don't be afraid to challenge yourself, because only by giving you more time and more effort in a hard and difficult topic will you be able to broaden your eyes, like David said. And it will help you be able to grasp more ideas that you were way too afraid to tackle because you didn't have any prior knowledge to it. And my part as well, it tackles with this problem pretty well because I was put in these shoes as well. I chose a very difficult topic and I didn't know how to do it. I just went with it. I tried to understand each of the concepts that I was given to, and finally I was able to do it. And I believe that you can too. You just have to try and believe in your abilities to understand and to comprehend the topics that might not suit you or might not be the thing that you learned before. And that's my saying on this question. Thank you.
Thank you, boys. How about you, David? What do you hope readers will remember from your chapters?
So, like I said in my speech, I think what I want my audience to remember is about, like the question that I always ask myself every time I'm joining a competition. Rather than you asking, is this useful or not? I would rather ask, what can I yield from this? What can I gain from this? Because for me, each journey may looks like it's not necessary, but each of those steps build your characteristics. And for me, reading my part, it's like a small extra step in order for you to lift your characteristics from here to up here. And I think, with the process of spending 6-7 months, it's pretty challenging. But I hope this book could, help the audience to remember that another 6-7 years later, they will know who they are and they will have me by their side with the book. That's what I want.
Xin được cảm ơn David. And finally, Sam, if you could dream big, what would you like to do in the future?
So there was like a reel that I watched from Facebook, and I think you kind of like ask almost the same question, but like in the reel they actually put in like a twist. So like the question was, how big would your dream be if you know the possibility of failure is 0? And so the only thing that is stopping me from achieving my dream right now is definitely my mindset. And if I wanted to dream big, I could, but I would be sleeping all day. But if I could do something that I really want to do, that I fancy to do, is definitely to do more debates. As simple as to do more debates, to do more presentation, because my habit was to argue with my parents or argue with my friends all day long, because like I like to argue a lot and bring up tons of arguments that sounds really weird but works. So my biggest dream would be definitely to either become like a debate judger or maybe like a presentation, kind of like a guy who like would judge a presentation, because I like to hear different views, to listen to a ton of different perspectives from different candidates, from different people, and hopefully acquire more knowledge to the ultimate goal of the betterment of myself. Thank you.
Xin được cảm ơn Sam, cảm ơn tất cả các tác giả.